All right, so that's the big breaking news on your screens right now. We were the first to tell you that N. Chandrasekaran will indeed be the man for that coveted top job at Tata Sons. Nayantara Rai, who broke that story, is with us, and so is Abhinav Badas and Ashwin Mohan, all legs covered on that big story. Still an official announcement being awaited, but highly placed and very credible sources tell us it is the insider N. Chandrasekaran who will actually be selected for the top job. Nayantara, why him, and what exactly are sources saying at this stage?
Actually, I think everything was decided and was unanimously decided that N. Chandrasekaran would be the next chairman of Tata Sons about 24 to 48 hours back, and that's why the sudden meeting that has been called, which was initially perhaps going to be later on in the week. There were also some speculation that could Ajay Piramal be the new chairman of Tata Sons, simply because he was only recently inducted in the board. But my sources rubbishing that and saying that's not the case at all. Ajay Piramal will not be the new chairman. It is going to be N. Chandrasekaran. And Supriya, the minute you have N. Chandrasekaran, you announced to the world that you have continuity. It is also someone who has the confidence and the trust of Tata Sons, of the various Tata Group companies. He's an old Tata hand. He has worked with Ratan Tata. He has also worked with Cyrus Mistry. He has flourished with both of them. He has made TCS, and that's also one of the messages that, perhaps the House of Tatas really wants to send out there. While TCS is headquartered in Bombay, it is a global company to be reckoned with, and so the belief also is that N. Chandrasekaran will be the right person to take the right calls when it comes to all the legacy companies of the Tatas, and there will be decisions that will have to be made as far as debt goes, whether it's steel, whether it's motors, Indian hotels, etc. So it does seem, as of now, they're betting big on N. Chandrasekaran. But Supriya, the big question is that the minute you remove him from TCS, what happens to TCS?
Oh, that's a billion-dollar question, and which is why I'm going to get Ashwin Mohan, who was at the TCS meeting and that briefing, to join us with more details. Ashwin, I know you put forward the question to N. Chandrasekaran if he is going to indeed be the man for the top job. He ducked the question just like anybody would just hours before that official announcement did come. But what about TCS? I mean, if he does move to Bombay House as the top boss, what about neighboring TCS? Who takes charge, and is that a point of concern at all? Because that is really the crown jewel. It's the best performing as far as all of Tata Group's assets are concerned. Can that cope up for a life without N. Chandra, the man who really got TCS to where it is today?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Supriya, because it's Chandra who's driven TCS to the point of leadership. Remember that TCS is just recovering from a rather rough patch. Chandrasekaran was pointing out earlier during the TCS results that he is seeing a pickup in demand across several clients, especially in the BFSI and the retail space. But one thing is for sure, TCS is the biggest revenue generating machine of the Tata empire. A huge chunk of the Tata Group's revenues come from TCS, and if you take away the man who was responsible for generating those revenues in the first place, then I'm very, very sure that perhaps the successor to N. Chandra at TCS, that could perhaps also be a point that could be discussed at this high-profile board meeting. Because I'm very sure that the group would not want to show a message that there's continuity right at the top, but there's suddenly no continuity at the top company, which is TCS. So that's something also which we need to keep a lookout for. Who will be the successor to N. Chandrasekaran if indeed he is picked as the chairman of Tata Sons? We have an HR head, we have a CFO. It'll be interesting to see whether any of them is elevated. But that, of course, will be a bold decision to take, because N. Chandrasekaran has been a Tata veteran for many, many years. As we have been pointing out earlier, he's been groomed personally. He has global experience. So on record, on paper, he seems to be ticking all the boxes to be the insider and to be the person with comfort who will go ahead and lead the Tata Group. But of course, it all remains to be seen who will take over from him at TCS, and that could possibly also be discussed at this high-profile board meeting behind me at the Bombay House. The board meeting is still going on, Supriya. We are awaiting an official announcement.
Ashwin, as things happen, I think sources are telling your channel right now that Rajesh Gopinathan is likely to be the new CEO of TCS. Abhi, do we have an official confirmation there?
Yet, but what we understand from our sources is that Rajesh Gopinathan is likely to replace N. Chandrasekaran as the new CEO, as the next CEO of TCS. In fact, I have with me Nikunj, who just spoke to the TCS guys and figured out that this is what is likely to happen, given the fact that Chandra, who's been guiding the company for far too long now, in fact, he once he takes charge at Bombay House, Rajesh is likely to be the next one who will be guiding TCS.
Okay, I'll take it across to Nikunj Dalmia, Chief Editor Financial Markets, who joins us right here. Nikunj, so it's going to be Rajesh Gopinathan as far as TCS is concerned, India's most valuable company, and it will be N. Chandrasekaran as the head of Tata Sons. Is that a done deal right now? And how are you reading these changing dynamics, really, the changing roles? Is TCS safe? Are people going to be concerned about a new man coming in? He is the CFO, so there's going to be continuity there as well. And N. Chandra, of course, marked for the top job.
Well, Supriya, never say never. This is a source-based story, so I would insist that as of now, we should maintain that it's a source-based story. But I'll tell you what the challenge would have been. What could be the future of TCS minus Chandra? And what is the importance of Chandra here? That when the baton was passed on from Ramadurai to Chandra, TCS was a weak number 2 IT company. Now it is a powerful number 1 IT company. Operating profit margins of TCS when Chandra took over were in the range of about 21 to 22%. Infosys operating profit margins were in the range of about 28%. The current scenario is that TCS margins are 26%. They are growing at a run rate which is higher than the industry, unlike others where there has been a challenge. Now, when it comes to Rajesh Gopinath, I guess he's the most natural successor. He's been the front man. Apart from CFO, he also has been engaging with clients in terms of, various client deals. Every quarter when I've engaged with Rajesh Gopinathan, he had a fair assessment of which way the billing rates are moving, how to control the margin. The fact that TCS in an environment like this, when the macro is bothering them, currency headwinds are there, margins have stayed between 26 to 28%. I think that is largely because of the operational efficiency Rajesh is bringing on the table in terms of currency management and also client negotiation for billing rates. So he's a deep insider, a natural successor, and markets will not be unhappy or they will not be disturbed. It means continuity. It means an insider will now be taking TCS higher. Supriya, these are interesting times for TCS, whereas we continue to focus on Tata Sons. Let's remember, Tata Sons, TCS is really the jewel in the crown for Tata Sons. They have to protect TCS. And Rajesh, I think, is in the front seat really to protect and take the baton forward. He understands the way the digital business is changing. He understands the importance of old business is losing some sheen and new business is taken over. So he has a deep understanding of TCS and the environment. And I don't think markets will be too unhappy. In fact, you think about it, Supriya, the only 3 people who speak to press from TCS for the longest time now are Chandra, head of HR, and Rajesh Gopinathan. So, markets would say and media would say, I know this guy. I don't have to go to Facebook to see his picture and profile. I know this guy and I know a lot about him.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Supriya, I just wanted to ask you a question, since you're getting inputs from various quarters right now and all the big important developing news, all the 360-degree angle of the news breaking here on ET Now. But one very important question, Supriya, what's your sense on whether there is a possibility of a dual leadership structure at the top? Because there has been a fair level of criticism that perhaps the leadership structure of the Tata Group needs to be tweaked, and there has been talk about whether there could be a CEO and a chairman. Is that the sense that you're getting right now, based on the inputs that you're receiving, Supriya? Because that could be another important
I think that's
aspect to look
exactly.
out for
I think that's
in the final frame of affairs.
Indeed, I think that's exactly what we're picking up. At least, the ET reported it. I think Abhinaba said it a while back. But Abhi, you want to take on that question? It won't just be Chandra at the top, but he's actually going to have the liberty to choose 2 vice chairs as well. Is that the structure that we're broadly looking at?
In fact, that's something that the Tatas have been debating for a while now, whether all powers should be concentrated with the chairman, because this is something they've suffered in the past, in the last 2 months, ever since Cyrus had to be sacked. So there was always a doubt whether all powers should be concentrated with the chairman, and that's the reason why over the last 2 months we are aware that the Tata group has been debating whether to bring in 2 vice chairmen. What it does is it also lets the chairman concentrate on the vision for the group, on the way ahead, while the other vice chairman could also look at the operating parameters. Because if you look at it right now, with Cyrus at the helm, the big criticism that the Tata Group shareholders, essentially Tata Trusts and others, they've been saying that the group had been deviating from the Tata way of doing it. So in that sense, there was very little that the other board members could do, because if you look at the way the whole thing panned out in the last 3 years, is in most of the companies it was essentially Cyrus Mistry who was the chairman, and there was hardly any representation from the Tata Trust in any of the operating companies. So this is something that the Tata Trusts are not very comfortable with, and that's the reason why there would be 2 other nominees who could also be there at the operating companies to make sure that there is no deviation from the Tata way.
The Tata way of life, and don't we just keep going back to that, but we are also given to understand that N. Chandrasekaran will be resigning very soon, and we've got to keep our eyes on the stock exchanges as far as the CEO of TCS is concerned. We're getting in comments from people like Sunil Mittal and Uday Kotak, people largely welcoming N. Chandrasekaran. Nikunj, you've spent a lot of time with N. Chandra as the boss of TCS. You've interviewed him multiple times. What is the man like? Is he ripe and right for this big job? He's done software all his life. He's delivered. And how? He's, like you said in your own words, let me quote you back, he's got TCS from a number 2 weak IT company to a very strong number 1. What do you think does he bring to the table as far as Tata Sons is concerned? A conglomerate that makes everything from software to salt to cars to submarines very soon. So I'm just trying to understand, what does N. Chandra bring to the table?
You know, one thing I can safely say is that Chandra is one person who's hungry for growth. Growth is Chandra's DNA, and I think that is what Tata's need right now. If you look at the composition of the Tata board, bulk of the business or bulk of the profitability for Tata Sons is only coming from 2 companies. One is TCS and the second is Tata Motors. Indian Hotels, Tata Chemicals, the other umbrella companies frankly are not contributing a lot. So he understands growth, he understands the advantage of skill, he understands the advantage of scale. You know, if you are a CEO and if you're managing a manpower of nearly 3.5 lakh employees, which means your employee relationships and your ability to really manage mass employees, I think is also very large. So you need someone who's A, growth oriented, B, who understands mass management and has also a very strong global understanding. Supriya, the advantage what Chandra brings on table is that look at TCS. They are catering to global retail clients. They are catering to global financial clients. They are catering to global healthcare clients. They are catering to global auto companies. Now, in order to cater to some of these Fortune 500 companies, you have to understand the trends. He has a deep understanding on the way
Nikunj,
how
I'm sorry, I'll
India is
just have
moving.
to interrupt you there. Do we have Uday Kotak who I can go to right now? Nikunj, I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt you there, but I'm given to understand that Uday Kotak... Okay, Uday Kotak did speak and we'll get his comments in just a bit. But Nikunj, very quickly, that's about Chandra. He's hungry for growth, and I think what the group needs right now is growth in no uncertain terms. But what about the fact that N. Chandra is also the big marathon runner? He is going to be moving away from TCS. You said Rajesh Gopinathan is not somebody whose name needs to be Facebooked or who needs to be looked into. He's one of the 3 spokesperson of TCS. He understands margins, he understands negotiations, he understands hedging that currency. Where do you see the TCS stock price tomorrow morning? Is this going to be a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
You know, that's the interesting one because numbers are not bad, and if you get Rajesh Gopinathan, I don't think the markets are going to panic, because what you need is that the successor should understand the business, should take the baton higher, and should be in a position to really take TCS to a next level. So I don't think markets would be too unhappy with the choice of Rajesh Gopinathan. If there was an outsider who had no connection, we had no understanding of his past track record, that would have injected that extra element of uncertainty. So I don't think there would be a collateral damage for the stock per se tomorrow. A little bit of knee-jerk reaction in this kind of a market cannot be ruled out, but bear in mind the numbers which they declared are an indication that TCS is also recovering that growth path. So numbers aside, the choice of Rajesh Gopinathan is not going to inject a lot of uncertainty, at least for majority of the shareholders. But you know, Supriya, again going back to the Chandra point, here you have a CEO or a chairman of Tata Sons who understand the new economy, who understand the digital world, who understand various businesses. So if Tata Sons is a combination of various businesses, N. Chandra, because of his ability to understand the global clients, I think is fit for the job.
All right, just hold your thoughts there, Nikunj, but I'm given to understand we've got V. Balakrishnan, the former Infosys CFO, who's patched with us right here on ET Now. Thanks very much, Bala, for being with us. It looks like somebody you've known for a very long time, N. Chandra, is indeed going to be the top boss at Tata Sons. He moves from TCS and gets in to fill the big shoes of Ratan Tata. I shudder to say Cyrus Mistry, but your first take, your first analysis on this move.
No, I think Chandra will fit into the role. He'll be a great choice because he demonstrated running TCS. He handled global clients. He has got great experience. He's a hands-on manager. So Chandra will be a very good choice to be the chairman of Tata Sons. But we have to figure out who will head TCS or is going to handle both the responsibility together because TCS is a cash cow for the whole group and TCS is very important for the group. So we have to see who is going to run TCS or is going to handle additional responsibility. Otherwise, I think Chandra is a very good choice. He's an insider. He has got confidence of Ratan, and it will work very well.
So just to answer your question, who's going to be the top boss at TCS and will he have dual responsibility? The answer to that is no, because Rajesh Gopinathan, the existing CFO of TCS, takes over as the CEO. And that was going to be my next question, that Rajesh Gopinathan at the top of things at TCS, a company that he's been with for a very long time, understands the business dynamics. Is that perhaps the best move for TCS right now? And just as somebody who's an insider into this industry, how do you read that?
No, I think if somebody has to replace Chandra, you need to bring somebody, an outsider, because the industry is transforming big time. The existing business is getting more and more commoditized. You need to get into the new digital business, and you require a lot of good clients with good connect with the clients. Even though Rajesh is insider, I don't think that will be a great choice to replace Chandra. Probably they should get somebody from outside.
All right, so that's a contrarian view that's coming in because Bala does believe that you should get somebody from outside and not within. But what is the problem with having somebody from within Bala, somebody who understands the business, understands that what they keep referring to as the Tata way of doing things, has been on currency hedging, has negotiated clients, understands the margin pressures that TCS sometimes faces or not faces. What is the problem of having an insider? Isn't it a vote for continuity more than getting a rank outsider and raise questions as to, was N. Chandra the only one who was running that ship?
No, that is the whole point. I mean, the industry is transforming big time. You don't need the status quo. You need somebody to come and challenge the status quo and transform the company. Because the existing business is getting more and more commoditized. The growth rates are coming down. You require somebody who understands the digital space, who are well connected with the client, who can make the transformation happen. I don't think the insider will be able to do that because success is the biggest problem. If you are too successful, your ability to challenge the status quo and change is very
Kotak speaking to ET now. Sir, my first question to you is the new Tata Sons chairman has been announced. N. Chandrasekaran is the one who's now going to be the chairman of Tata Sons. Your first reaction to that?
I think Chandra is a fantastic leader and I have great regard for him. Thank you.
Okay.
And my congratulations to him.
Of course.
Thank you.
Sir, do you think this will address the issue of, the ongoing spat that exists between Tata Sons, Ratan Tata and Cyrus Mistry?
I am no one to comment on that.
Sir, but a quick comment, sir, on the Tata Sons new elevation, sir, for all of us, sir.
I think Chandra is a phenomenal professional and we are very proud of him as a professional and a leader and a great person. I have very high personal regard for him and I congratulate him. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. And sir, just one question on your... I can't have...
All right, so that's Uday Kotak, another industry veteran, putting a big thumbs up as far as N. Chandrasekaran is concerned, calling him a thorough professional and seeing this as a great move. If I do have Bala back on the line with me, do I still have him? All right, that call is disconnected. But let's take this across to Abhinav Das, who's carried every twist and turn and covered the battle galore like never before. And Abhi, what happens to that royal battle between Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata? There was obviously an ego clash there with Chandra at the helm of things. He's known to be a cool customer. He's known to be somebody who's calm. He likes to run, to reflect and to understand what he's going to do next. And most people who run well also think well, they say. What happens to that battle galore?
Well, if you look at legally speaking, the battle will of course continue at the National Company Law Tribunal, where both the sides are contesting. In fact, we broke a story even yesterday where Cyrus Mistry through his group companies, filed a contempt plea against Tata Sons and the directors of Tata Sons and also the Tata trustees. But that is besides the point. Right now, the focus clearly will be on the new chairman. And with Cyrus coming in, obviously, I mean, the conflict points will be far lesser, because if you look at it, even Chandra mentioned in the interview with Nikunj that the kind of equation that he shares with
Abhinaba, I'm really sorry to cut you short there, but I've got a very, very special guest. Mr. Narayana Murthy joins us right here on ET Now on that big breaking news. Mr. Murthy, we really appreciate you taking time out this evening and speaking to us on the big development as far as Bombay House is concerned. And it looks like N. Chandrasekaran will indeed be the man for the top coveted job of being the chairman of Tata Sons. A, how do you read that move to begin with?
Well, first of all, Chandra is a tall leader of the Indian IT industry with a spectacular record. His leadership qualities are legendary. He is a great human being. He is smart, he is simple, he is value-based, he is confident, and he is very pleasant. I wish him great success. I have no doubt at all that he will carry on the values of Tata's extremely well. And I am very, very pleased with his appointment because he is truly an extraordinary human being with a great record, with an extraordinary record.
It does take one extraordinary human being to recognize and appreciate the other. So there are compliments coming both your ways. But what is it that N. Chandrasekaran brings to the table that Tata Group needs right now? My colleague Nikunj, who's known N. Chandrasekaran for a very long time, says he's hungry for growth, and that's what Tata Sons needs right now. But according to you, what is it that you think N. Chandrasekaran brings to the table that is so crucial for Tata Sons at this juncture?
No, I think, his performance is very clearly on the table. Everybody knows it. He has made TCS the leader of the industry. Number two, he is a very simple human being. He is very pleasant. He is unassuming. He is humble. Despite all his stellar achievements, he is very humble. He is extraordinarily kind to strangers. He is always willing to look at your point of view. What more do you need in a leader? I think he will get people to go along with him. He can create a great vision. If TCS is any example, then he will do a great job. I have no doubt about it. And, I am an unabashed admirer of Chandra. So I am very happy if indeed he is the choice of Bombay House in leading Tata Sons.
I don't know what is going to make N. Chandra happier today. His elevation or these very kind words that come from you. Not very often do you actually hear people say humble, unassuming, fantastic man, very kind to strangers. Those are very, very kind words from you, Mr. Murthy. But I also want to talk to you about the credentials. He's had a great experience, and like you said, he's created the TCS that we see today. He's a very tall leader in the Indian IT sector. But Tata Sons has businesses across submarines and salt and not just software. It's in defense, it's in commodities, it's in automobiles. What experience will count here, sir?
I'm in the middle of a meeting. I have already broken from the meeting. I hope you will kindly appreciate it. I have to go back to the meeting. When I took the call, and when it was about Chandra, I was very, very happy. And that's why I said, I hope you will kindly allow me to go back to the meeting. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Bye.
Mr. Murthy, all right, we'll allow you to go back to that meeting, but there were many questions that I wanted out of Mr. Murthy, but very, very kind words, and I'm wondering if you can play back that interview. It tells you the kind of respect that N. Chandra has from his peers in the industry, because for every practical purpose, Infosys is a TCS competitor, and coming in from one of the co-founders of Infosys, Chandra has a big vote of confidence from Mr. Narayana Murthy. It's really a big day for N. Chandrasekaran, and these kind of accolades just perhaps make it bigger and even better. So I want that clip to be replayed, but I want to take it back to Abhinaba. And Abhi, you were talking about the bitter battle between Cyrus Mistry and Ratan Tata. Nayantara, Okay, Nayantara, do you have more details for us right now that you want to fill us in with? And what are you picking up on this battle as far as your sources in Bombay House are concerned? Are we going to perhaps see the end of this bitter acrimony?
You know, that is something very interesting, Supriya, because on the 16th, that's Monday, is when you're going to actually hear Cyrus Mistry's petition, the latest contempt plea, being taken up by the NCLT. Then you've got the Tata Sons EGM for the removal of Cyrus Mistry from the board of Tata Sons coming up on the 6th of February. So clearly that battle is not over, but the sense you get when you speak to insiders at the group of at the Tata Group is, you know, let's have a new chairman. Life has to move on. Enough has been done. It's been one big circus, but we need to get back to business. And that is why, once again, I'm going to reiterate, the thinking was also, let's get an insider that everyone trusts, and an insider who has been a performer. Where they feel they went wrong with Cyrus Mistry was also, he was not an insider. He might have done very well at Shapoorji Pallonji, but they didn't know everything that he was doing at Shapoorji Pallonji. Whereas with N. Chandra, it's a very different story. He joined TCS in 1987. He's had a very long, illustrious career for everyone to see. He has a fantastic relationship with Ratan Tata. He also had one, to be fair, with Cyrus Mistry as well. And that is why they also feel that N. Chandra is the right candidate to take all of the difficult calls that need to take place in the various Tata Group companies to pare down debt, difficult calls on cost cutting, you know, things that, assets that may need to be sold, etc. And you send out a message to everybody that we're getting an insider, and therefore we are also endorsing continuity. You get someone from the outside, all of that changes. Now, while the Tata conglomerate has been very proudly picking up assets around the world, they've always wanted to talk about an Indian ethos. So that's something else I'm picking up. Why go to an Indra Nooyi? Why go to some other global chairman when you have enough insiders to go to?
I've got a very, very special guest. Mr. Narayana Murthy joins us right here on ET Now on that big breaking news. Mr. Murthy, we really appreciate you taking time out this evening and speaking to us on the big development as far as Bombay House is concerned. And it looks like N. Chandrasekaran will indeed be the man for the top coveted job of being the chairman of Tata Sons. A, how do you read that move to begin with?
Well, first of all, Chandra is a tall leader of the Indian IT industry with a spectacular record. His leadership qualities are legendary. He is a great human being. He is smart, he is simple, he is value-based, he is confident, and he is very pleasant. I wish him great success. I have no doubt at all that he will carry on the values of Tata's extremely well. And I am very, very pleased with his appointment because he is truly an extraordinary human being with a great record, with an extraordinary record.
It does take one extraordinary human being to recognize and appreciate the other. So there are compliments coming both your ways. But what is it that N. Chandrasekaran brings to the table that Tata Group needs right now? My colleague Nikunj, who's known N. Chandrasekaran for a very long time, says he's hungry for growth, and that's what Tata Sons needs right now. But according to you, what is it that you think N. Chandrasekaran brings to the table that is so crucial for Tata Sons at this juncture?
No, I think, his performance is very clearly on the table. Everybody knows it. He has made TCS the leader of the industry. Number two, he is a very simple human being. He is very pleasant. He is unassuming. He is humble. Despite all his stellar achievements, he is very humble. He is extraordinarily kind to strangers. He is always willing to look at your point of view. What more do you need in a leader? I think he will get people to go along with him. He can create a great vision. If TCS is any example, then he will do a great job. I have no doubt about it. And, I am an unabashed admirer of Chandra. So I am very happy if indeed he is the choice of Bombay House in leading Tata Sons.
You know, I don't know what is going to make N. Chandra happier today. His elevation or these very kind words that come from you. Not very often do you actually hear people say humble, unassuming, fantastic man, very kind to strangers. Those are very, very kind words from you, Mr. Murthy. But I also want to talk to you about the credentials. He's had a great experience, and like you said, he's created the TCS that we see today. He's a very tall leader in the Indian IT sector. But Tata Sons has businesses across submarines and salt and not just software. It's in defense, it's in commodities, it's in automobiles. What experience will count here, sir?
I'm in the middle of a meeting. I have already broken from the meeting. I hope you'll kindly appreciate it. I have to go back to the meeting. When I took the call, and when it was about Chandra, I was very, very happy.
All right, so that's Narayana Murthy. Very, very kind words coming in from virtually somebody who has competed with N. Chandrasekaran as the founder of Infosys. But we're going to take that discussion forward, and we've got two very special guests, Suhail Seth and Mr. Sunil Alag, and both join us right here on ET now to take things forward. It's a big decision as far as Bombay House is concerned, and Suhail, for every practical purpose, you are the insider on the show, and I must ask you, N. Chandra for the top job, did you see this coming? Was this imminent? They voted for an insider, it seems.
You're asking me, you're asking Suhail. I don't know who you're asking this question of.
I'm asking Suhail. I'm asking Suhail. I'll come back to you, Sunil.
Okay, good.
No, she said Suhail, so yeah. I really don't know. I mean, but I've over the years learned the art of believing everything that ET now says. So when you said it would be him, I smiled and was very pleased and delighted that it is him. For me, the delight is not only about Chandra, it's about what I said on your channel, Supriya, on October 24, that Mr. Tata didn't return to this assignment because he wanted to, but he was compelled to. And he said he'd be here for 4 months. Well before those 4 months, there is someone in place. And if it is Chandra, someone who is deeply rooted in the Tata values, as Narayana Murthy rightly said, someone who is deeply compassionate, unassuming, simple and kind, what more could the House of Tata want? Not only do you have a professional who has outdone and has had a stellar track record, but also a great humanist, marrying the two values that the House of Tata has always believed in.
Oh, absolutely. I remember the chat we had on the 24th of October, and you said Ratan Tata is here to fix things and he will be out sooner than you imagine. And yes, he's going to be out sooner than we imagine, which is less than 4 months. But Sunil Alag, it's your turn to now take the bait. And my question really is that a lot of people say they saw it coming. They would have, Tata Sons would have voted for continuity. They in fact have. Some people said they would have wanted a global outsider of sorts to come and lead this venture. But it is going to be TCS CEO, homeborn, well-bred, a man who's delivered. I mean, for all practical purposes, TCS is the cash cow of the group. And so they've gone with somebody who's been an achiever, who's delivered results for Tata Group, haven't they?
Right from the beginning, frankly, I was hoping that Mr. Ratan Tata would be there for another couple of months at least. But even if he's decided to move down, because what I can read on your screen is that N. Chandra is the front runner. I don't know if it's been confirmed. And if you're confirming the news that he has become, then we can discuss that. But for me, I wish if Ratan Tata was there for another couple of months, because right now the Tata companies are going through some kind of turmoil, and there's one glue which would have held everybody together, would be Mr. Ratan Tata. He has already decided that I was not going to stay there beyond 4 months or whatever. And like Suhail, I had also said the chances are that there will be somebody from within who will succeed him. What is a little surprising is that it has happened today rather than 3 months down the road, and we need to look at the logic behind it. But in terms of Mr. Chandra personally, I know him. I knew him when he was the number 2 to Mr. Ramadurai, and I interacted with him at that time. And I found him to be an extremely humble individual and perhaps one of the most focused and most intelligent. So in terms of someone within making it, he is obviously the front runner. There's no question of it. So are you confirming that he has become, or are you saying that this is what you think will happen at the end of the meeting? Personally, I wish if Ratan Tata was there for another couple of months.
What happened? This is news that we are picking up.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 Sunil. This is not what we think will happen. This is not what we think will happen. This is exactly information that we've picked up from insiders. We've got this information from credible sources. In fact, the Tata Sons board meet has concluded, and we are going to hear what you first heard on ET now officially. And Suhail started off by saying that for years, the right decision is that he's believed what he sees on ET now, and it's your turn to turn a believer too, Sunil. But I do want to talk to you on a more serious note, both you gentlemen, and just take this story forward because this is imminent. An official announcement will come, and we'll go to that in just a bit. But Sunil Alag, when that bitter battle was brewing between Cyrus Mistry on one hand and Ratan Tata on the other, issues about control that Ratan Tata executed or implemented or exerted on the present management came to fore. Do you believe somebody like N. Chandrasekaran, who's come through the rung as far as the Tata Group is concerned, will he have a free hand finally? Because that has been a cause of concern for some investors out there.
You see, if you know Mr. Chandrasekhar, I mean, he was filling up Mr. Ramadurai's shoes, and at that time, everybody was questioning, well, he's very bright, he's very humble, but will he be able to fit into Ramadurai's shoes? And he's done that adequately. Now the question is, look, Mr. Ratan Tata's shoes are, according to me, very, very difficult to fill up. So it's a question of somebody coming from within, having the culture of what the Tata Group is, having the confidence of Mr. Ratan Tata, and I'm sure that Mr. Ratan Tata is not backing off the entire organization right now, and therefore N. Chandra will have to develop his own style within the culture that the Tata Group wants, and that I think he's capable of doing, and he's bound to grow into the job, according to me, as opposed to being able to become someone from day one.
All right. Suhail, you of course have a deeper insight into the group, and I must ask you this. Will there always be an overhang of Ratan Tata, or will we actually see N. Chandra being his own man at Tata Sons?
You know, I'm so glad, Supriya, you asked me this, and I've never talked about it in the public domain, but I must today. You've got to understand Ratan Tata. He has no heirs, both with an H and with an A. His only commitment is to the legacy, is to the DNA, is to the imprint of the House of Tata. He's never been one for accolades and public acclaim. He had walked into the sunset in 2012. For people to then say, because of a phrase was tossed around, or he said, you must be your own man, and therefore he was not allowed to be his own man, we don't know. This is conjecturing. This is the Cyrus Mistry group for whatever reasons, and I have no business to, decry them because I don't know them. But I know one thing, that Ratan Tata takes a principled, right decision. But that decision is based on principle. It is not based on ego. It is not based on one-upmanship. It is based on a sense of sacrifice. Number two, have you noticed the quality of personal assaults over the last 2-3 months? Does it behove someone, whoever it is? I'm not even talking about Cyrus and whoever it is. Does it behove you? What did the man do? Did he respond? No. Did he come out all guns blazing? No, that's not Ratan Tata. Number three, you've got to understand that for Ratan Tata, his word is the most important. If he had said, which he had, that you will be your own man and you must be your own man, I can take a bet that you have never interfered. He would have interfered when it came to issues of transparency, business conduct, ethics. Then he would step in as he should. Because please remember, he doesn't only have the responsibility as chairman emeritus, he also has a responsibility as chairman of the trusts to the people. Because it is not only the trust in the brand House of Tata, it's also in the trust's work. So you've got to understand it in that domain. A lot of the jokers have made this out into a corporate war. There is no David versus Goliath. It's cause versus the right cause. It's principle versus passion. It is legacy versus short term. That's what people have got to understand, which a lot of the people didn't. And if you remember in your channel on October 24, you asked that why did he go? Was it because of performance? And if you remember, I told you it can never be about performance. It must be about something beyond the area of performance, because Ratan Tata is made of sterner stuff.
Yes. We indeed had that chat, but I'm joined by two other very special guests. Some have been peers and some, of course, have been competitors of N. Chandrasekaran, Mr. T.K. Kurian and Mr. C.P. Gurnani. Both join us right here on ET Now. Mr. Kurian, to you first then, your long-time competitor and I'm presuming a good friend from the industry, N. Chandra, to be the top boss at Bombay House.
I think it's terrific news. You know, as the world becomes more digital and you have a competitor like Chandra, who's always kind of taken a company like TCS. If you look at TCS when he took it over, it wasn't exactly occupying the prime spot. And when he's finally left it after all these years, I mean, all of us envy what he's done in TCS. He's done an absolutely remarkable job there. So we expect that he would do the same thing with the Tata Group. And I think it's terrific both for the industry as well as for Chandra himself. Given his background and where he started to where he's achieved, I think it's something that the Tatas themselves can be proud about. Because really, in many ways, it signifies meritocracy. And that is something the Tatas have always believed in. So I think it's terrific news for everyone.
Mm-hmm. It indeed is terrific news, and before I take it forward to what N. Chandra brings to the table, I must ask you as an industry veteran, what does this mean for TCS? This is really the crowned jewel of the Tata empire, the richest cash cow, so to say, and yet the man who's created that magic is going to be moved out, and we're given to understand Rajesh Gopinathan, the CFO at TCS, will take over as the chief executive. How do you read that development? Is this a vote for continuity, or would you have wanted fresh blood in TCS?
Well, you know, I think one thing that Chandra has always done is that he's created a very strong leadership bench. And you got to kind of congratulate him for that too. He's really had the foresight to do it. And the reality is that Chandra is not going to go anywhere. If I know Chandra, he may not be running TCS, but he'll clearly have an eye on TCS. So to that extent, I don't see this as a negative. I see it as a positive because Chandra is going to go into a job where his influence is far larger, his realm of responsibility is far larger, and his impact by that means would be much larger. So to that extent, I see it as a positive.
Indeed, you see it as a positive. Just hold your thoughts there, Mr. Kurian, Mr. Sohail Seth and Sunil Alag. We've got Mr. C.P. Gurnani as well joining us on the phone line. And Mr. Gurnani, thank you very much for being with us. Your good friend N. Chandrasekaran is indeed going to be the top boss at Tata Sons. It's been, many will say it's been a long time coming. It was imminent. But to be the boss of one of India's largest conglomerates, an empire that makes everything from salt to software and everything else in between, is quite an honor, it's quite a task, is it not?
I think my congratulations, and the whole of NASSCOM and industry is excited about N. Chandra's elevation. We in IT industry strongly believe that N. Chandra is the man. And thanks to IT industry, we are pretty much get a 360-degree view of every part of industry. Every industry. And lastly, I think Tata Sons, if they are formally announcing, they would have made a great choice. Number one, it is clearly Tata Sons saying they need Mr. Digital to lead the digital invasion, to lead the digital disruption, and there is no better person than N. Chandra as Mr. Digital. Number two, I think he is a people's person. He is very, very well connected to his customer base, to his employee base. And I think that empathy would definitely be required in Tata Sons and in various Tata Group companies as Tata Sons rejuvenates itself for the next few decades.
Mr. Gurnani, I'm tempted to ask you my next question on TCS. The question really is that so far, whether it was Ratan Tata or it was Cyrus Mistry and now, of course, N. Chandra, things were very different. TCS was left on its own. It operated as a separate entity and it delivered the magical results that it and the magnificent results that it did. Things are going to change with Chandra now being in charge at Tata Sons. You can take N. Chandra out of TCS, but can you take TCS out of him is really going to be the big question. Mr. Gurnani?
I think, it is continuity. To me, N. Chandra has got elevated, he has not left. Number two is, I think that is the greatness. Number one is a clear message to the millennials. If I was a Tata Sons or a TCS, a millennial message to the millennials is, rolling stone gathers no moss. TCS CEO, now elevated as chairman. He joined the company from REC Trichy in 1987, stayed the course, did well, continued on a vision of building TCS into a conglomerate, and delivered on that promise. And his promise delivered is equal to rewards. I think it's a great message to the millennials. Secondly, my personal feeling about TCS particularly is that TCS is a solid, steady state cadre. One cadre, one leader moving up only means an opportunity for others. We have seen it in FC Kohli transitioning power to Ramdurai, Ramdurai transitioning to N. Chandra. I haven't worked with cannot make a judgment on behalf of Gopinath, but Gopinath clearly as a CFO was a good choice. So I'm sure that the TCS as a business will continue to roll. Yes, it is a time where all of us in IT industry need to rejig, need to take cognizance of the new opportunities that are coming our way, but I'm sure TCS will be able to cope with the change.
All right, just hold your thoughts there, Mr. Gurnani and Mr. Kurian. Let's get in Suhail Seth and Sunil Alag as well. And Sunil, the larger point that Mr. Gurnani was making, it's big news for millennials. But my question to you is, does this also signify a big change in stance, a big change in strategy, also a big change in mindset for Tata? Here is someone who comes from the IT background, more with it, cooler, if I may, somebody who understands the digital landscape. Is he going to make Tata Group, which is a little fuddy-duddy, a lot cooler now? And I'm saying it in a lighter vein. I don't mean it in a lighter vein, really. Suhail?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was just Sunil. We keep getting confused with these names.
Saying
two
anything?
quick things.
I'll wait till
CP
Suhail
uses
finishes.
these lovely phrases on and off, millennials and all. I don't understand millennials. I don't understand all this. I only know, and in response to what Kurian said, is, you see, TCS is the crown jewel amongst many others. So if you're the chairman of Tata Sons and this contributes 80% of your profits, you will not need and you mustn't take your eyes off the ball. A. B. I completely agree with CP that it sends out a statement that the times are a-changing. That today merit is the only arbiter. Merit will take you wherever it needs to take you. The fact that you've got a person who heads the digital end of the business of the House of Tata now steering the group also shows and reflects on a certain dynamism of that group. To take your phrase fuddy-duddy, one wouldn't have imagined Tata Sons or the House of Tata to have someone from a non-manufacturing but from a service background. But times changed. So to my mind, it's a tribute and it's a credit to the board of Tata Sons to accept that reality, to take it in its face and in its wake, and then say that, look, this man, that's if he is the man, is the best person for the job. I think it's inspirational, it is aspirational, more importantly, it's invigorating. So I think when the announcement is made, if it's made today or whenever, and if it is Chandra, there can be no better person there can be no better time and there can be no better house.
Oh, indeed, there can't be so many betters put together as far as N. Chandrasekaran is concerned. But Sunil Alag, and I promised to call you Sunil Alag, and I promised to call Suhail Seth going forward on this show. But Sunil Alag, if I may bring this to you, the times they are changing. We're all quoting musicians and we're all quoting lyricists here, but they are indeed changing at Bombay House. They are voting for a young man who doesn't come from the traditional Tata base, who's not been an automobile guy, who hasn't held steel. And like Suhail said, he's not a manufacturing guy, he's the new age services guy. So the times indeed are changing even at Bombay House.
You know, I agree with Suhail what he's saying, but I think we must clearly say what is the role of the chairman of Tata Sons. Please understand that every company of the Tata Group, like Tata Beverages or the Tata Hotels, they are all run or should be run by dynamic CEOs. And an FMCG kind of approach, which might be in Titan or somewhere, or in when they're selling tea, will require a different kind of CEO. And therefore, I don't expect Mr. Chandra to be running all these companies. You have to realize that there are people in different companies and each one is independently quoted and efficiently run. The role of Tata Sons chairman will be, which Mr. Chandra is best suited for, especially after this so-called battle, which was quite unnecessary, is to provide the environment and a soothing balm to the effective CEOs of each individual company. And therefore, in that respect, Mr. Chandra is a very good choice. There's no doubt about that. But don't expect him. I think everybody is evaluating, well, he's from the IT industry, he's from everybody. You cannot look at that anymore. Here is a person, humble, comes from the same, I would say, lineage of the Tata Group, understands the system, and Mr. Ratan Tata is not expected to make a mistake twice. There was one mistake made on Cyrus, and I'm sure all of us have learned, and Mr. Ratan Tata and the board will now want someone who is able to now gel the company together, is able to listen, provide a soothing effect, and I think Mr. Chandra fits that role. Don't expect him to start running the various different companies.
Right.
And to that extent, I think once he understands his role, he's not running any more companies. He's going to look after the Tata Group. And that's very important. He's got the merit, he's got the soothing,
I've got a very
calmness,
special guest.
and that's what you need.
Yes. Sunil Alag, I'll just come to you in a minute from now. I do have a very special guest, Mr. Bhaskar Bhat joins us right here on the phone line. As somebody who's now going to be working closely with N. Chandrasekaran as the big boss at Bombay House, but of course has worked with him for years as he was the TCS CEO. What's your reading of the man, and what are you really looking forward to N. Chandrasekaran bringing on the table?
Oh, fantastic choice. I'm so happy for Chandra. I mean, he's the best CEO of the country, will be now running the biggest group in this, most respected group in this country. Energetic, aggressive, nice guy, and most importantly, very, very hungry for growth. So, I'm so happy.
So you're not the only one who's saying he's hungry for growth. You're not the first one on the channel, because I've had my colleagues who've known him for years say the good thing is that he's very hungry for growth, and that's what the Tata Group needs. But Bhaskar Bhat is the first Tata reaction we are getting on that elevation.
Well, after a long time...
Oh, yes, he does. I was going to...
Okay, go on.
I was going to just ask you that after a very long time, you have somebody who's young, you have somebody who comes from a non-manufacturing background, you have somebody who comes not from, from the trust, or somebody like a Ratan Tata or a Cyrus Mistry who's been a stakeholder. He's a professional, so to say. What does this really mean for the Tata Group at large? Things seem to be changing swiftly and changing for the better, if I may?
Of course, he is... after a long time, we have somebody who's run a company for a long time, and he's grown up in the system, and therefore it's going to mean a lot to the group. And he's got a global perspective, and he's got global experience. I mean, what more can you ask for?
He's got global perspective experience. He's got the humility that a leader reads. Is the word coming from Bhaskar. But Mr. Bhat, your group has been in the news for some wrong reasons in the past. What does the elevation of N. Chandra mean there? Because Cyrus Mistry did say that he never really had a free hand. There was an overarching presence of Ratan Tata. Do you believe N. Chandra is going to be his own man? I asked that question to Suhail Seth, and he strongly believes he will be. But as an insider who knows the group and also knows the man, what's your take?
I think this question, nobody will probably be able to answer correctly, properly. There's no correct answer to this. I think Chandra is his own man. He knows the group. He's been a CEO. He ran not just the largest company in terms of number of employees. It was the largest. It had the most diverse. I have always maintained that the group is not just Tata Sons. The group is also a large number of people, business associates, people with whom we work and who work for us. Chandra knows all that. And Chandra knows Tata Sons as well, being the largest shareholder. Therefore, I think he knows what it means to be chairman. So I think he'll make it work. It's not about, whether Mr. Tata, he will have to listen to it. I think he will. I think he's the perfect choice.
He's a perfect choice. In fact, he just reached TCS and he was greeted very warmly by his, if I may now say, former colleagues. But Bhaskar Bhat, there were issues of misgovernance, that were raised. And I want to ask you, what happens to the whole relationship between the Tata Trust, the Tata Sons, and the listed companies? Do these get resolved, or with N. Chandra's elevation, all those issues go on the back burner, and that legal fight can continue at NCLT or wherever may? It doesn't really bother the group anymore.
Well, those are not really impacting the day-to-day operations. How the Tata Trusts and Tata Sons relationships and the Tata Sons relationship. Tata Sons relationship with the group companies is very clear. They are shareholders. Now, if there are governance issues, those will be. And I am more than 100% sure that no Tata company has flouted any governance norms. Yeah, there is some allegation that is being made that will be fought out in the court of law. There's been no intention to break any laws of the land. So that we must take for granted with the group, and therefore I think these will get resolved. And Chandra is in a good position to ensure that it gets resolved, in the right manner.
I know Suhail Seth wants to come in, but I have a quick question before I throw it to him, Mr. Bhaskar Bhat. And the question is about TCS. TCS is really the most coveted company within the group. It is the fat cash cow, if I may. What does the elevation of N. Chandra really mean for India's largest IT company that also happens to be the most valuable within the Tata empire?
TCS has sufficient depth of management and leadership, significant diversity of customers, and a strong process orientation. It will continue to grow. I think, yes, leaders do make companies, but companies also make leaders.
Companies do make leaders, and that's a very right assessment. My last question before I throw it to Suhail Seth, and I think he wants to come in on that. Are we going to see a far more agile, a younger, perhaps on its toes Tata Group under a new leader? Mr. Bhat?
Oh, it's you. Yeah. I don't know about more agile and less agile. I keep maintaining one point that companies are run by managements and CEOs, and therefore agility is really dependent on the management. And in the last several years, since at least 20 years, companies have been headed by younger and younger CEOs. So that bit will continue. I don't think that was in question at all. To expect a significant change of direction is a little too much of an ask. I think we do have some problems to resolve, but Chandra's style of hunger for growth will inject a little more energy. But I think as a group, we have been pioneering and exploring all the time.
Indeed. Just hold your thoughts there. And I do want to bring in Suhail Seth. Suhail, did you have a question for Mr. Bhaskar Bhat?
No, I wanted to say something in relation to what you asked. When you said, will it be more agile? You couldn't have had a more agile person than Mr. Tata when Mr. Tata was helming the group. And he did do a couple of cool things. He got Starbucks to India. He got Jaguar Land Rover. So, coolness is not about age. It's not about agility linked to age. It's about agility linked to the mind. And I think, like Mr. Tata in his time, who actually supported, encouraged, embellished agility of purpose, Chandra is the same. You define it as a phrase called hunger for growth. To my mind, Chandra's hunger is for value addition and for value accretion. He believes in expanding the concept of value. So if he is named, I think it'll be in harmony with basically the principles that Mr. Tata embraced when he took over the house of Tata and expanded it to mind-boggling lengths.
Indeed, but you also bring out a very important point when you make that comparison with Ratan Tata, that Ratan Tata came young. He had a long helm at Bombay House, and it looks like so will N. Chandrasekaran. He's only 53 years old. Sunil Alak, the fact that he's coming in as the top boss at 53 does give him many years ahead at Tata Group to leave his imprint. And is that now going to work to his advantage, really?
Yeah, I agree with what Suhail is saying. Look, Cyrus Mistry was young. I mean, how does that affect anything? In fact, the important thing right now for Mr. Chandra is he has been agile, he's young, he's got many years ahead of him. I think the next 6 months for him will be, if I was in his place, I can only say that, look, try and now get the whole team to work together. There's been a lot of discussion down the line, a lot of division. So the first thing is get everybody to gel together, and that's exactly what Mr. Ratan Tata is expecting. The moment that happens, we look forward to sustainable growth thereafter. So if you bring in another person totally from outside at this point of time, that is not likely to happen in a hurry, whereas Mr. Chandra knows the entire system. So I think the first thing will be to tell everybody, come on, let's put shoulder to shoulder, let's move forward. You've been given a task, let's move forward before he brings about any dramatic changes in the system, because that's more likely to disturb things. So from that point of view, Mr. Chandra is the best choice if he's chosen today. I mean, you couldn't have thought of anyone better. And Mr. Ratan Tata himself, when he left earlier, he didn't want to come back. As Suhail said, he was compelled to come back because there was an entire negative disruption which was taking place in the Tata Group. And there was another interview of one of the independent directors of Tata Sons on another channel a few days ago, where 4.5 years of Mr. Mistry was more than enough for him to have demonstrated that he was the right person. And once you don't demonstrate that, then the principal shareholder has the right to remove you. And right now, Mr. Ratan Tata is saying, I don't want to be there forever. I'm going to step out. I didn't want to be there earlier. I'm stepping out. Let me get someone who is good and from within. And it's not a question of training that individual in the system. So from that point of view, Mr. Chandra is great. Mr. Chandra is going to let Mr. Bhat and everybody else who's running the various companies to get on with their jobs, because they've already got the very good CEOs running it.
Indeed we do. But I have a very important question to ask of Mr. Bhaskar Bhat, because he is the Tata insider on the show, officially speaking. Mr. Bhat, these are very troubled times for the Indian IT sector. If Donald Trump's press conference late last night was anything to go by, we are going to enter an era of extreme protectionism from the United States. Extremely protectionist. Anything foreign is not very good. Jobs cannot be, sailed overseas. In times like that, is there a concern about TCS being in the hands of Rajesh Gopinathan and not N. Chandrasekaran?
Well, I'm not an expert on the sector, but I can tell you one thing, which is TCS has a more diversified portfolio in terms of geography than most other IT companies. And that was a conscious choice Chandra had made several years ago. Of course, the United States is still a very large part of that portfolio. But I think these are events which any company has to deal with. And Rajesh Gopinathan has been there alongside Chandra. But as I said, that company's got a depth of leadership and management, which very few companies have. People who have stayed with TCS for a very long time, very capable people, and therefore they will manage this transition very well. I have seen that company closely because of another process that the group has, which is called the TBEM process. So I'm quite confident. Chandra has a good team. Of course, he was a great leader, but as I said, leaders make companies. Companies also make good leaders.
Mr. Bhatt, I have a question for you, which I'm going to throw to both Suhail Seth and Sunil Alagh next. But if I may begin with you, Mr. Bhatt, Tata Sons or Bombay House is known to have, is known to have had insiders for years. People who've been there for years, people who are a lot older, people who've spent a lot more time doing the Tata way of things. Is it going to be tough to wade his way around, being fairly young, at least comparatively young, to some of the people who've been there? And who are still in their advising capacity, who still yield a lot of influence within the group?
Well, he's been there for 30
Mr.
years
Bhatt.
now, so how does it matter whether he's young or old and the others are young or old? The Tata way is the Tata way. So he knows how to deal with that. And incidentally, the people there today who are in executive positions within Tata Sons are a much younger lot, and that is not a big. We in the individual companies have never been concerned about it, never been affected by it, and I think it's a myth. This bit about old and young and so on. I think Suhail said it right. I mean, it's not old and young that makes the difference. It's the way you look at things.
Indeed, that's an important point that you're making. But Suhail said, if I may redirect that question to you, there are still people like Krishna Kumar and people like that who yield a lot of influence within the Tata Group, still in the background, still lurking around. How difficult or easy is it for a person who comes in, who has been a junior employee, now rising to the ranks, coming in as the top boss? How easy will it be for N. Chandra to wade through people like this? I'm not saying they are bad influence. All I'm saying is that they've been there for years. They yield considerable influence. Is it always easy to stand up to people like that? Suhail Seth.
Somehow I believe that in India we always believe in the worst option first. We believe that there'll be confrontation, there'll be conflict. You know what my advice to Chandra would be if he is nominated? My advice would be to implore upon Mr. Tata to become the senior advisor, as it were, follow the Lee Kuan Yew model in Singapore, because you will be blessed and embellished if you have a hand like Ratan Tata's guiding you as you begin your journey in his shoes. Number one. Number two, I have for years been involved with the House of Tata. I started my advertising career there. I can tell you, they look at you with benign gentleness, never with fear or envy or as if you're threatening them. That's not the culture of the House of Tata. You see, the tragedy is that the last 2 months have been months where mud has been flung without any reason. So in that whole mudslinging, what has happened is you've created a description of a group which is far from the truth. So people believe, oh, is it this? Was he interfering? I mean, there were 30 meetings of Tata Sons. Ratan Tata didn't attend one, although he was entitled to being chairman emeritus. You've got to understand the man. You've got to understand his colleagues. People like Naushir Soonawala, whose interests do they have? Do they have heirs to look after? Do they have legacies in terms of children and families to leave behind? What are they guarding? If I was Chandra, I would ask myself, what is Ratan Tata guarding when he gives me advice? Nothing. In fact, if he's guarding anything, he's guarding the goodness for Chandra or whoever it is. So I would only say that Chandra has nothing to fear. Plus, please remember, Chandra started his career with the House of Tata. His first job was the House of Tata. He knows that these are not people who are coming in the way. These are people who will help him see the way. So if you come with that mindset, with that positivity, there's never a conflict. But if you walk in saying, I'm the boss, this is the Wild West, I'm going to be John Wayne, the rest can die, that doesn't work. So it's a culture of embrace. It is not a culture of pushing away. That's the culture of House of Tata, which people like Chandra understand because they've been rooted in it. A lot of the people don't understand because they don't value partnership, experience, expertise and guidance. What they value is territorial fiefdom, and then they realize that they've made mistakes as they go along.
The Wild West is not what India is, and certainly not what Bombay House is ever going to allow. But Sunil Alagh, you've been a chief executive. I agree with some parts of what Suhail says, but I'm at liberty to disagree with some of it. Can there ever be an advisor like Ratan Tata always with you? You always need to watch your back, because as the CEO, you also have to be at the liberty of making mistakes. As the CEO, you also have to be at the liberty of sometimes failing, sometimes falling. Or should you always have the cushion or the comfort of a Ratan Tata with you? Is that warranted, you believe?
No, I think Suhail has been a lot closer to the Tata group, but whatever I've heard and seen of Krishna Kumar, whom I know quite well, Mr. Ratan Tata I know reasonably, Chandra, please, you're forgetting that there is a very good independent director board in Tata Sons. You've got Ajay Piramal, you've got Venu Srinivasan, you've got Noria, you've got... So what would a CEO do apart from Mr. Ratan Tata? You have a bank of wisdom and experience on your board. You discuss ideas with them. You carry your board forward together, and that's the way it works. I cannot imagine Mr. Ratan Tata saying, no, this is me, I'm autocratic, I don't care about what the board thinks or what anyone thinks. So the important thing for Mr. Chandra will be, if he's chosen, is to carry, and he's been chosen for that reason. He will discuss his ideas, he has an open mind, he will listen to the other board members, and then he conveys the strategy for the whole group. So I don't see a problem arising at all in this area, either from Mr. Ratan Tata or any of the people who are the older hands there. They will only play a supporting role. If you ask them for some advice, they will give it. I doubt if they are going to come in and start putting their nose into everything that Chandra is doing. He's got a good board. Every board meeting he can rely on them. So I don't see where the problem is being even thought of, I mean, at this stage. Here is Mr. Chandra who knows everything. He's part of the group. He's got a terrific board. He's got a particular strategy in place. If he's got any good ideas, he will share it with the board, carry the team together, which has been the Tata culture all along. You don't break that culture at all. And as Suhail calls it the Wild West, but in many ways, Cyrus was trying to do that, and that doesn't work in a group like Tata's. You can't ride roughshod over your independent directors and say, I will do what I want.
Indeed, and every place has a culture, and you can't perhaps try and change at least the fabric of that place. But Suhail said, I also want to take a minute and talk about brand Tata. Some of that sheen, some of that halo around that brand did take a hit as accusations were hurled by Cyrus Mistry. Counter allegations came in from the other side. My question is, does the elevation of N. Chandra, who's a deserving candidate, does the elevation of N. Chandra, who's a performer, who's done well, he's delivered, does that take care of those things? Will brand Tata be restored to its former glory?
Supriya, and I say this without any facetiousness, I will never be as good a television journalist or editor as you are, but I do know my marketing a bit. Brands operate at two levels, at the benefit level and at the value level. At both the benefit and value level, it is the consumer engagement with what he transacts with, which means Tata products, whether it's soap, salt, steel, TCS, blah, blah, blah. There has been no traction decline at that level. Because as Bhaskar rightly said, the companies are and will continue to remain brilliantly run by passionate people who understand consumer engagement of a high order. Come to the next point. What were they trying to do? They were trying to sully the image of a man whose, frankly, image is beyond sullying. I mean, you look at the respect with which he is held. You don't need to go far. Go to social media. where actually people can hire camps to troll. But even that, Mr. Tata's image is far beyond that. Will the house of Tata's glory be restored? It hasn't edged out. You know, two swallows a summer don't make. I think this was a very unfortunate blip on the radar, and that blip has gone away. People will realize that the house of Tata weathered a storm only because it wanted to maintain the imprint of transparency, ethicality, and value-based governance across its lifetime. And Ratan Tata made sure that that would happen. So I don't believe that brand Tata has been hit as much as people surmise. You know, people in our country are quick to jump the gun without any idea of either research or knowledge. Yes, was there a lot of unnecessary media attention, some of it negative, some of which would stick, some of which would cause people to be concerned? Of course. But with the passage of time, with the transparency that would emerge in the courts of law, you will realize that the house of Tata played the game right. And that over time, people would recognize that here was a man who was allowing himself to become a target only in order that the longer term goal would not be unsettled, which is containing, maintaining, and recognizing the worth of which and for which the house of Tata was founded by Jamshedji Narsarwanji Tata. Sometimes you have to stoop in order to conquer, and it's sometimes you have to allow yourself to be the subject of vilification because you know that you're right. I think, to my mind, and I'm not sounding emotional when I say this, to my mind, Ratan Tata has been the epitome and remains the epitome of a fine gentleman. And a fine gentleman allows himself to be sullied as long as the cause that he promotes will never be. To that end, you must salute the man. And as I said on your channel, if you remember, Supriya, I said he's given himself 4 months. Knowing the man as I do, he will walk back into the sunset as quickly as he can.
And which is why I call you the insider in Tata Group, because you had said this on the 24th of October that we will perhaps see a successor sooner than those 4 months.
But I'm no insider, yeah. There's no...
Suhail Seth doesn't... One second. I'm going to take a question to Sunil Alag and come back to you. Mr. Alag, Suhail Seth doesn't believe that brand Tata has taken a hit. And like he says, you sometimes have to stoop to conquer, and that perhaps did happen. Do you agree with that assessment, or do you believe some part of that halo has gone? But with this elevation, with an insider coming in, with continuity, with the performance, with delivery being, with delivery being accoladed and acknowledged, that is going to be restored.
Look, I mean, 2 months ago I said that, look, if it continues, the battle continues for a year, then maybe the Tata brand might get hit. Because today, if you go and ask anybody, they've got a brand called Tata Salt. Have they stopped buying it because of this battle? No. Are they going to stop buying a Tata car? They will look at the efficiency of the car. And if it's good, they are buying it. If you talk about Tata Tea, so none of the products that they are selling under the brand name of Tata has got hit. So I also don't think that at this stage, the brand Tata has been hit at all. So if you talk about at a corporate level, you're going to discuss amongst a few CEOs and business people, they will all tell you, yeah, what is happening to brand Tata. But if you talk about people out there in the marketplace, brand Tata is still there, unaffected. Sure, if it went through all of 2017 in December and Mr. Tata was still there and everything was happening and he didn't get a successor, then it might have, but not today. And that is where I think Mr. Ratan Tata has stepped down for only one reason, saying, all right, everybody is attacking me. I'm a good leader. I've taken the hit. Now, Mr. Chandra, you can't hit Mr. Chandra on the same reasons. He's going to be there. He's there and he'll take the group forward. So you can carry on attacking Mr. Tata as a gentleman, but you will find it very difficult to damage a name that has come about from the beginning, from Jamshedpur, in a matter of a couple of months of this kind of an affair. So that's it. I mean, I think everybody is going to begin to relax. You've got a good leader. He's taking the group forward. You've got good CEOs. Where is the question of the brand being affected at all? I mean, I'm also in marketing and brand building, but if somebody was to ask me, I don't think the brand has been affected today, other than in gossip and some corporate circles when we want to have a hypothetical discussion or a theoretical one, that you'll have all this. But go out in the marketplace and ask somebody, have you stopped buying a Tata product? When they stop buying it, then you know the brand has been hit. And nothing like that is happening so far. And that for me is the asset.
All right, I've got two of the best guys who can talk about markets and brands, and they believe that it hasn't taken a hit. But Suhail said,
sorry, I'm just ending by saying the consumer of your product is the one who decides whether your brand has been hit or not, and the consumer of your products don't seem to be affected at all, so the brand hasn't been hit.
Indeed. Suhail said, I do want to, talk about N. Chandra one more time. I've been reading up on him. He completed his Masters of Computer Application from Regional Engineering College in Trichy. Then he did his Bachelor of Science in Applied Sciences from Coimbatore Institute of Technology. So he is no Ivy League bred. Something that is always considered as this hallmark of success in Indian boardrooms or Indian corner offices. He's no Ivy League bred. He's somebody who's really been at the job at a junior level, has got his hands dirty, has risen through the ranks, so to say, and is now going to be the head of the Tata Group. So when we're talking about times they are changing, they're also changing in the terms of who they are selecting as the top guy, not just a performer, but they're not really caring about an Ivy League degree or has the man been to Harvard, has the man been to Yale, none of that really.
India chose an Oxbridge-educated man as Prime Minister. In 2014, India chose a person who began his career as a tea seller. The times are a-changing. Chandra doesn't have to belong to an Ivy League college to have an Ivy League mind. That's ludicrous. What he has to have is a sense of purpose and to exhibit, to record that, and to play it along a long career, which he's done. So I believe this again is an example of how non-parochial and non-traditional the House of Tata is. If you look at it, you would have imagined that the House of Tata would have chosen someone with an Ivy League, but that's not the way it works. It doesn't recognize origin.
Right.
It recognizes merit. It doesn't recognize origin, it recognizes the journey. So to that end, again, it proves that this is, and if it is true, a great selection mired in meritocracy and not in aristocracy.
Right. Just hold your thoughts there, Suhail said, because I've got another very special guest. Mr. C. Sivasankaran, who's known to be a long-time aide of the Tata Group, is joining us on the phone line. And Mr. Sivasankaran, you've had some troubled times with Cyrus Mistry, but it looks like some amount of sanity will return to Bombay House with the elevation of N. Chandrasekaran. Your first reactions to that elevation that many people saw coming?
You see, Chandra will do a good job as chairman of Tata Sons, and he will make a world-class company. I am nothing against Cyrus Mistry. Even Cyrus Mistry will appreciate that Chandra will be a good chairman, and I only hope good sense prevails with Cyrus. And as promised, Ratan Tata has done a good job. He said he will be a temporary chairman, and Cyrus was spreading rumors saying that he will continue for next 6 months, 1 year. He hasn't done that. And ethically and morally, Chandra will holds a very high value. He understands Tata Group, so I expect nothing other than a miracle of doing a very good performance for Tata Group. And I also congratulate him and happy Pongal for him and for all the Tata Group people.
Actually, Pongal can't be happier for N. Chandrasekaran there, and looks like it won't be even happier for Rajesh Gopinathan. So, two people who will be celebrating a very happy Pongal will be N. Chandrasekaran and Rajesh Gopinathan. But Siva, just stay with us because I do want to ask you some more questions on the contrast between N. Chandrasekaran and Ratan Tata. Ratan Tata did come from the family. He was a part of the shareholder community. N. Chandrasekaran, in that sense, is a pure professional. He doesn't own, the largest shareholders of the Tata Group. In that sense, how do you contrast the two gentlemen then?
Madam, Tata Sons always Tata Group maintained is a professional company. Tata himself believes on the interest and the success of the Tata Group. So it's a good choice. You don't need to own even one share in Tata Sons. Maybe, and he has no other companies like Cyrus Murthy to give contracts. There's no conflict here. Okay. See, it is like GE. In GE, when they choose one person to succeed as a chairman, the other four guys get the job in 20 minutes in all four big companies. So Tata Group will evolve like General Electric. So it's a good thing.
Indeed. So when Jack Welch went, they really had a very good CEO who came in to succeed him. But Mr. Sivasankaran, concerns have been raised by Cyrus Mystery on misgovernance, on information being shared for listed entities, price-sensitive information with Tata Sons, concerns about misgovernance largely. How will those be taken care of with this elevation, or do you believe those cease to be issues really?
Mystery always told lies or he has difficulty in telling the truth. You see, till the case was filed in Delhi, I never even know that Cyrus took shares at 15 rupees and he also sold. Okay, he misrepresents. You see, Cyrus is not our life, madam. Why media is wasting time on Cyrus Mystery, I don't understand. Okay, focus on much larger things, what is good for India. Okay, Tata Group definitely holds the equity. As I told in my first interview, our Prime Minister is working for India's equity. Now, let us bury all these issues and look forward for a brighter 2017 for India as well as for Tata Group.
Indeed. Mr. Sivasankaran, before I let you go, I have a quick last question to ask of you. Much like you pioneered telecom in many ways, N. Chandrasekaran comes from a very new age IT background. Most people who've been at the top jobs at Tata Sons or have been people of eminence in the Tata Empire have been people from manufacturing, have been people from the traditional industry, so to say. What does this also mean for a change in mindset? He's coming from services, he's coming in from IT, he's coming in from a business where Tata Group did not really play a very big role. TCS was pretty much left to itself to excel.
Okay, let me explain you. Whatever items that you can touch and produce, your market cap is very low. What business you are in, the modern age business where you cannot touch the business or produce, the valuations are high. The world is changing. In 2017, Chandra is the right choice for the chairman. Okay, you take Reliance Jio. I am quite sure Reliance Jio will become a $250 billion company in the 3-4 years to come. Okay, that is why Reliance is focusing on new technologies and new ideas. Today you see Facebook, you see Twitter, those are getting higher valuations than any other company. Previously people used to say what is good for General Motors is good for America. Now people in America are saying what is good for Facebook and Amazon and Twitter is good for America. We are changing. Change is permanent. So it is a good thing happening. You should be happy that Chandra is selected. We have not selected any British guys or Americans or some other corporation unput. Incidentally, Cyrus is an Irish guy and at least Chandra is an Indian guy. There is a rule in telecom also, only the Indian passport holder has to be a CEO. So it's the right thing for an Indian guy to head the Indian conglomerate. So what is wrong in that? It's a good thing.
Indeed, it is a good thing. But Sunil Alag, very quickly before we take a quick breather here on things, the question that we did ask Seva Sankaran, and this is about N. Chandra's it's a new age background. He's not somebody who comes from a traditional manufacturing, auto, or any of those issues. He is perhaps going to look at performance, he's going to look at margins, he's going to look at profits and delivery. And so, are we going to see a lot of the deadwood within the Tata group? Companies laden with debt be taken care of. Maybe he will not be a man in a rush like Cyrus Mistry, but he is perhaps going to get rid of assets that are not working for the Tata Empire. Is he going to be surgical about those?
I don't know why we are discussing this, because ultimately at a level of the Tata Son group chairman, it doesn't matter where you come from, because the fundamentals of the group chairman will remain the same. He is supposed to look after the interests of the group, he's supposed to look after the shareholders, he's supposed to look after the consumer, and he's supposed to outline a strategy, which then, I come back to my original point, is executed by the chief executives of different companies. Whether he comes from manufacturing or finance or marketing, make any difference to the person who is chosen, except for his caliber, his capacity on human relations, his capacity to carry a team, his capacity to think ahead of the future, because he is no longer going to be involved in the direct running of a company. So his job will be, where do I take the group now? Does he have the capacity to outline a strategy, which he does have? Now, where on earth did we ever think that when Mr. Ramadurai left and Mr. Chandra took over, would TCS arrive where it has? It has, because he had the capacity of moving with the times. Now, at a more strategic level in Tata Sons, he would be the best person, and surely today, if anything that the Tata Group needs is a person who is going to add the soothing balm rather than disrupt. So he fits every single thing. A humble man, an intelligent man. Nobody can question his capacity to lead a company into greater profits. He's done that. So within the group, he's the most acceptable. Outside the group, he is the most acceptable. Why bring in someone new and again cause or have some fear, will this man work or not? So I think Mr. Ratan Tata has made a terrific choice, but I come back and say I wish he was there for another month or two at least to help but he will be there. But right now he's decided at the timing, and I think Mr. Chandra is the best individual that he could have chosen. It's a terrific board that he's got to rely on as well in Tata Sons.
Indeed, he has a terrific board, but we did get in a word from Narayana Murthy, and before I go to that, I would like to thank my guests, both Mr. Sunil Alag, Mr. Sohail Seth, and Mr. Seva Sankaran for being with us on this big breaking news. Let's first listen in to Narayana Murthy and his lavish praise for Natarajan Chandrasekaran. I've got a very, very special guest. Mr. Narayana Murthy joins us right here on ET Now on that big breaking news. Mr. Murthy, we really appreciate you taking time out this evening and speaking to us on the big development as far as Bombay House is concerned. And it looks like N. Chandrasekaran will indeed be the man for the top coveted job of being the chairman of Tata Sons. How do you read that move to begin with?
Well, first of all, Chandra is a tall leader of the Indian IT industry with a spectacular record. His leadership qualities are legendary. He is a great human being. He is smart, he is simple, he is value-based, he is confident, and he is very pleasant. I wish him great success. I have no doubt at all that he will carry on the values of Tata's extremely well. And I am very, very pleased with his appointment, because he is truly an extraordinary human being with a great record, with an extraordinary record.
it does take one extraordinary human being to recognize and appreciate the other. So there are compliments coming both your ways. But what is it that N. Chandrasekaran brings to the table that Tata Group needs right now? My colleague Nikunj, who's known N. Chandrasekaran for a very long time, says he's hungry for growth, and that's what Tata Sons needs right now. But according to you, what is it that you think N. Chandrasekaran brings to the table that is so crucial for Tata Sons at this juncture?
No, I think, I mean, his performance is very clearly on the table. Everybody knows it. He has made TCS the leader of the industry. Number two, he is a very simple human being. He is very pleasant. He is unassuming. He is humble. Despite all his stellar achievements, he is very humble. He is extraordinarily kind to strangers. He is always willing to look at your point of view. What more do you need in a leader? I think he will get people to go along with him. He can create a great vision. If TCS is any example, then he will do a great job. I have no doubt about it. And, I am an unabashed admirer of Chandra. So I am very happy if indeed he is the choice of Bombay House in leading Tata Sons.
I don't know what is going to make N. Chandra happier today. His elevation or these very kind words that come from you. Not very often do you actually hear people say humble, unassuming, fantastic man, very kind to strangers. Those are very, very kind words from you, Mr. Murthy. But I also want to talk to you about the credentials. He's had a great experience, and like you said, he's created the TCS that we see today. He's a very tall leader in the Indian IT sector. But Tata Sons has businesses across submarines and salt, and not just software. It's in defense, it's in commodities, it's in automobiles. What experience will count here, sir?
I'm in the middle of a meeting. I have already broken from the meeting. I hope you will kindly appreciate it. I have to go back to the meeting. When I took the call, and when it was about Chandra, I was very, very happy. Grown up in the system, and therefore it's going to mean a lot to the group. And he's got a global perspective, and he's got global experience. I mean, what more can you ask for?
He's got global perspective, experience. He's got the humility that a leader reads. It's the word coming from Bhaskar. But Mr. Bhat, your group has been in the news for some wrong reasons in the past. What does the elevation of N. Chandra mean there? Because Cyrus Mistry did say that he never really had a free hand. There was an overarching presence of Ratan Tata. Do you believe N. Chandra is going to be his own man? I asked that question to Suhail Seth, and he strongly believes he will be. But as an insider who knows the group and also knows the man, what's your take?
I think this question, nobody will probably be able to answer correctly, properly. There's no correct answer to this. I think Chandra is his own man. He knows the group. He's been a CEO. He ran not just the largest company in terms of number of employees. It was the largest. It had the most diverse. I have always maintained that the group is not just Tata Sons. The group is also a large number of people, business associates, people with whom we work and who work for us. Chandra knows all that. And Chandra knows Tata Sons as well, being the largest shareholder. Therefore, I think he knows what it means to be chairman. So I think he'll make it work. It's not about, whether Mr. Tata... he will have to listen to it. I think I think he's the perfect choice.
He's a perfect choice. In fact, he just reached TCS, and he was greeted very warmly by his, if I may now say, former colleagues. But Bhaskar Bhat, there were issues of misgovernance, that were raised. And I want to ask you, what happens to the whole relationship between the Tata Trust, the Tata Sons, and the listed companies? Do these get resolved, or with N. Chandra's elevation, all those issues go on the back burner, and that legal fight can continue at NCLT or wherever may? It doesn't really bother the group anymore.
Well, those are not really impacting the day-to-day operations, how the Tata Trusts and Tata Sons relationships and the Tata Sons relationship. Tata Sons relationship with the group companies is very clear. They are shareholders. Now, if there are governance issues, those will be, and I'm more than 100% sure that we have not, no Tata company has flouted any governance norms. Yeah, there is some allegation that is being made that will be fought out in the court of law. There's been no intention to break any laws of the land. So that we must take for granted with the group, and therefore I think these will get resolved. And Chandra is in a good position to ensure that it gets resolved, in the right manner.
I know Suhail Seth wants to come in, but I have a quick question before I throw it to him, Mr. Bhaskar Bhat. And the question is about TCS. TCS is really the most coveted company within the group. It is the fat cash cow, if I may. What does the elevation of N. Chandra really mean for India's largest IT company that also happens to be the most valuable within the Tata empire?
TCS has sufficient depth of management and leadership, significant diversity of customers, and a strong process orientation. It will continue to grow. I think, yes, leaders do make companies, but companies also make leaders.
Companies do make leaders, and that's a very right assessment. My last question before I throw it to Suhail Seth, and I think he wants to come in on that. Are we going to see a far more agile, a younger, perhaps on its toes Tata Group under a new leader? Mr. Bhat? I need people on the air. All right, so this is an official announcement that has finally come in on news, a story that you first heard right here in ET Now. N. Chandrasekaran, Natarajan Chandrasekaran, born in 1963, and a man who's been with Tata for almost 30 years now, is indeed going to be leading that group. He has been named the chairman of Tata Sons. And remember, this is a story that you first heard right here on ET Now earlier this evening, and I want to take it across to all our reporters and editors on this story and get more guests going. N. Chandrasekaran, I haven't heard such lavish praise and such warm welcome to one man in a very, very long while. But this is a story that you first heard right here on ET Now. This is a big change of guard at Tata Sons. Ratan Tata has said he would find a successor in the next 4 odd months. He's indeed done so. In about 2.5 months, the bitter battle did brew between Tata on one hand and Cyrus Mistry on the other. But finally, it's official. Natarajan Chandrasekaran, N. Chandrasekaran, is indeed going to be the top boss at Bombay House. I've got Mr. Natarajan from Mindtree joining us right here on ET Now. Thank you very much for being with us. Somebody who's been a part of the IT sector is going to now hold the reins and is going to be the top boss at Bombay House. Your first take on this, Mr. Natarajan. And he also shares a first name with you, it seems.
No, apart from sharing the first name with Chandra, I've also had the pleasure of working very closely with him over the last several years. And he was the chairman of NASSCOM and I was the vice chairman. So we've done a lot of work together. I would just say I'm ecstatic about it because I think it's a great choice for Tatas. And I'm sure Chandra will bring in an entirely new energy into the group.
All right, just hold your thoughts there, Mr. Natarajan, because I also have Mr. Mahalingam, who's again worked very closely with the, and who in fact has had the honor and the pleasure of working with N. Chandrasekaran, and he's joining us on the phone line as well. What do you make of your former colleague being the top boss at Bombay House now?
Extremely happy that he has got the top job at Tata Sons. To me, that is no surprise because I had expected this for some time now. He has proven himself as a great leader in TCS. If you especially much has been written about him in the last 9 years when he took over as the chief operating officer and thereafter as the chief executive officer. So a person with remarkable capability who took TCS to being the most valuable Indian company with huge international operations and who has looked after everything, all the areas of TCS, whether it is technology, whether it is human resources, whether it is strategic orientation, whether it is finance. He brings in capabilities across different dimensions, and he would be a phenomenally capable person to lead the group at this time.
He will be, all right, he will be a phenomenally capable person to lead the group at this time, this point in time. But Mr. Mahalingam, this is also a sign of things changing very fast at Bombay House. You always had people from manufacturing, from the old industry backgrounds really being at the helm of affairs. And now you have somebody from new age IT. TCS was a jewel in the Tata crown, but it was a jewel that was left to shine on its own. There weren't, many interferences. TCS operated on its own. My question to you is, how easy or difficult is it going to be for N. Chandra to now move from a very well-oiled machinery at TCS to some parts of Tata Group that are not so well-oiled, that are in debt, that are perhaps businesses that the group needs to get out of? It's going to be a tough journey for him going ahead. And what does he then bring to the table to wade through it?
Creating a multi-billion-dollar international enterprise in very many countries and so on is not an easy one. And to build TCS from a position of about $1 billion in revenue in 2003 to about $16 billion.
All right, I'm going to cut you short, and I'll go across to a very special guest right here on ET Now, and somebody who's known N. Chandrasekaran for a very long time. I have the honor and pleasure to welcome Ms. Chanda Kochar, MD and CEO of ICICI Bank. A good friend of yours, and I know you're good friends, is finally the top boss at Bombay House. How do you read that development late this evening, ma'am?
Well, I'd like to congratulate Chandra on this on this new role. Yes, I've interacted closely with Chandra. He's taken TCS to make it a big global giant, and I think all his experience in the international arena, his business acumen, his long association with the Tata Group, I think these are all very, very valuable, assets for him in his new role. And as you said, I've interacted and worked closely with him. And, he's always a warm person, an insightful person. So I wish him all the best.
You're sharing some of the qualities that you possess yourself, and which is why I keep saying it takes one leader to appreciate and recognize the other. But I must ask you, N. Chandrasekaran comes from a software IT background. He's made a phenomenal success of TCS. There's no denying that. But he's now going to be heading an empire that's just not about IT. It's about auto, it's about steel, it's about defense, it's about so many other industries, that the Tata Group is in. What will it take for him to move from TCS and fill in the shoes at Bombay House as the chairman of Tata Sons, as being the big boss?
Well, as I said, I think he has a huge amount of business acumen, and you always have to, look at a leader from an overall business acumen point of view. So he has that. He has a close association with the Tata Group. So, those are the great assets that he has.
He does have those great assets, but ma'am, I also want to talk to you about this is a change in things. When you yourself became the CEO and MD of ICICI Bank, people thought that was a new, fresh wave of change in banking. Here was someone who was capable, who was young, and was given the reins of ICICI Bank. People will perhaps say the same thing about N. Chandrasekaran, because unlike his predecessors who were old, and there are a lot of people who are a lot older than him in the Tata Group, he's somebody who's 53 years old. He has a long reign ahead of him, so to say. He has many more years. All right, I think we disconnected with Chanda Kochar, and we will go back to her in just a bit. But I've got Ashwin Mohan joining us from live outside Bombay House with more details. Are firecrackers bursting? Are people serving sweets? What is the mood like there? Because this is now official. N. Chandrasekaran, effective February 21st. Actually, I want to know, why Feb 21st? Why could it not be with immediate effect? So have you picked up anything on that just yet, Ashwin? So the question around atmospherics and also on facts.
Supriya, I've just got the official press statement. Supriya, I've just got the official press statement from Tata Sons, and as you correctly pointed out, it is N. Chandrasekaran. It's a story that broke first on ET Now, and now it has been officially announced by the Tata Group. He will take over as executive chairman. Mind you, one aspect has been highlighted. He was unanimously voted and selected by that selection committee, which had time till February 24th. But clearly, They have been pretty busy in the past few weeks and they have taken a decision much before that deadline. As you correctly pointed out, he will take charge not immediately, but from February 21st, 2017. And Supriya, one reason could be the fact that, he's been at the helm of TCS for the past around 7 to 8 years. He's just recently joined the board of Tata Sons about 3 months back on October 25th. So I'm very sure that there will be a pretty... there will be a transition process, of course, because he will have to hand over the mantle to the next successor at TCS. Our sources are telling us that it could be the CFO, Rajesh Gopinathan, though there is no mention of his successor in this statement that has come out. But one thing is very, very clear. It is his exemplary track record and his hunger for growth at TCS that has in fact given him the edge over other contenders, and that's been very clearly mentioned in the statement. Let me read out the statement. Mr. Chandrasekaran has demonstrated exemplary leadership as the CEO and MD of Tata Consultancy Services. We also believe that he will now inspire the Tata Group to reach their potential in their respective businesses, always keeping in mind the systems and the business ethics that the group has been known for. So 2 counts. 1, his track record at TCS, which is of course the bellwether and the biggest contributor of revenues to the Tata Group. And secondly, the fact that he's an insider, the fact that Natarajan was also pointing out earlier that there will be continuity. And of course, he's been groomed by Ratan Tata, and who better than Ratan Tata to guide him. It remains to be seen though in what role Ratan Tata will continue to play as part of the Tata Empire, whether he will continue to play a mentor role, whether he will be there in the form of an emeritus chairman. Clearly, he couldn't find a better, Chandra cannot find a better guide than Ratan Tata. But 9 years after taking over TCS and 3 months after assuming the directorship of the board of Tata Sons, N. Chandrasekaran is now at the top of India's biggest conglomerate. Supriya?
Indeed, he's at the top of the business conglomerate, and 9 years, like you rightly pointed out, of being the top boss at TCS. He's now going to be the head of TAS. Okay, I've got Mr. Deepak Parekh, a very, very special guest who joins us right here on ET Now, and somebody who's known Mr. N. Chandrasekaran for a very long time. Mr. Parekh, thank you very, very much for being with us. How do you read into the appointment of N. Chandrasekaran? This really marks a big departure from the tradition at Bombay House. He's not from that community. He's not a principal shareholder, and yet he's going to be the new boss.
I think he's the perfect choice. Chandra is the perfect choice. He runs TCS very successfully. It is the largest market cap in India and a large portion of Tata Empire's market capitalization. He's been a long timer at Tata, and he's young, he's dynamic, he's successful, integrity unquestionable. He's a Tata man. It doesn't matter what community you come from, but he's wedded to the Tata Group because he's been there for many years. So I think it's a perfect choice.
Indeed, it's a perfect choice, but you used 2 words which are very important. You said he's young and he's dynamic. And do you believe those are the virtues that the head of, the Tata Sons, the Tata Empire needs right now? It needs agility. It needs this hunger for growth, perhaps, that N. Chandrasekaran has. Do you think that's his biggest asset as he takes over on the 21st of next month?
I think he will be able to tackle the problems of the Tata Group very well. He's an insider. He knows everyone in every Tata company. He's worked with them in the past, and so he's the ideal choice. And I think if you have to have an insider, he's the right person.
So he's young, energetic, dynamic, and an insider. But what about the fact that, issues about him being his own man, him having, having a free hand in the affairs of Tata Group? Do you believe he's going to be someone who will assert that authority?
Well, we have to wait and see, but he's an insider. He's worked with Ratan and he's worked with Tata Sons directors and other people in the past. So it would be easy for him to get on with the people because they have been colleagues in the past many, many years.
Yeah, that's an important thing that you're saying, that they've known each other and they've known each other for a while. But Mr. Parekh, you also know that we are living in very uncertain times as the global economy is concerned. If Donald Trump, the president-elect, press conference has anything to go by, we're going to live in a very protectionist American regime. At a time like that, do you believe, and there are concerns that some people have raised, is TCS well off without N. Chandrasekaran?
Oh, I think he has a good bandwidth of people. He has to select one to run the company now. He has, I've known some of the people who are running different verticals in TCS. All of them are competent. All of them have done well. He'll have to pick and choose one person to take over his role. And we have to wait and see whom he appoints. Again, he's the right person to make a judgment because those people are reporting to him.
So before I let you go, there have been a few instances that have taken the halo of the Tata Group, if I may, issues about misgovernance, issues about too much interference from Tata Sons with listed entities. What do you think happens to all those concerns that were raised with the elevation of N. Chandrasekaran? Do those issues get addressed or those issues get on the back burner?
No, they have to be addressed. Nothing can be put on the back burner. Business decisions can't wait. They're urgent decisions, they can't wait. Nothing can be put on the back burner. And I'm sure, as you said, many years, decades. And I've seen his growth under Ramadurai and under Kohli. And he's an hand. And so he will be able to manage.
He will be able to manage. That's a bad phone line there. But thank you very much, Mr. Parekh, for joining us right here on ET Now and sharing your thoughts. The big words that are actually coming, and if I may just tell our viewers here, the one connect that we are making and connecting the dots that everyone is saying, he's young, he's dynamic, and the biggest attribute is that he's hungry for growth, and Bombay House can do with some amount of that hunger that needs to be satiated, and perhaps that's the biggest virtue that N. Chandrasekaran is going to get to the table. Please keep telling me, whoever is joining us right now on ET Now. But do I have Ashwin Mohan? All right, I do have Ashwin Mohan right outside Bombay House. And Ashwin, I'm sorry if I lost you. And I did cut you short because we had Mr. Deepak Parekh and Chanda Kochar. But what about the Feb 21st deadline? Why that day?
Well, Supriya, as I was mentioning earlier, since Chandra has been at the helm of TCS for the past 9 years, it's an IT bellwether, the transition is not going to be overnight. Clearly, he will have to hand over the baton to his successor. As I was saying earlier, our sources are telling us that it could be potentially CFO Rajesh Gopinathan, but that is yet to be officially announced. And maybe it is the transition process for Chandra to move.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.